Welcome one and all to the next episode of the Beta Tester. I'm Professor Miles. Today's beta test, Paladins. Now, if you're familiar or if you've seen a little bit of Paladins, you'll notice that it looks a lot like Overwatch. This is true. It does fall in the same genre of the hero shooter genre that Overwatch, I guess, really created. And you could call it a clone of Overwatch, yes, but it really does stand out on its own. While there are some similarities, there are plenty of differences that make it a great game to play. First of all, yes, there are 4 certain categories that both games uses. Damage, support. Granted, Paladins has flanking and front lines, which is your objective base. Then, of course, you have a variety of skins for the characters. And there's lore for the characters, a hidden story, if you could say. Now, Paladins, only a handful of characters currently have like a couple sentences for a lore, but they are attempting to tie together the characters in a way that makes a little more sense than Overwatch did. Reason why these champions, as they're called in this game, are here and fighting together or against each other. Now, one thing I understand is that Paladins is still a beta. It's not a fully released game like Overwatch. So there's still plenty of room for it to grow and to alter it and become even more so its own than Overwatch is. As I stated, some characters have a little bit of a lore, and they're still working on that. But I guarantee by the time of full release, all characters will have a full lore, and there will be a story that unifies the characters in a far more greater and richer way. Now, how does it play? It plays a lot like Overwatch, but it's inspired heavily by Chief Fortress 2, as the creators have stated specifically. You do pick one champion for the entire match, unlike Overwatch, where you can change out your hero of choice anytime you're in your home base. While you don't have the same counter strategy versus counter strategy you get in Overwatch, you do have more robust champions and paladins that actually can hold their own against even characters that are technically their counters. Not to mention that you can only have one of that champion on each team, which means at most there'll be 2 of those characters fighting around out of 10 players. There won't be 20 Hanzos going at it. Now, not to mention, there's one extra little thing that if you've played League of Legends, actually there's 2. If you played League of Legends, you can be more familiar with this concept. In Paladins, you create this loadout for your character that you can, through cards, you can unlock or purchase for the character. These cards will enhance one of their 4 different abilities, including their ultimate. So if you want to more, like say one of your abilities is to move around quicker and you want to enhance that, you can actually use those cards to make your character more mobile. And while seems to be a meta for some characters, I tend to do my own thing. For example, the character Sky is a ninja. She's a flanker, and she has the ability to sort of go invisible after certain conditions are met. Well, most builds focus on making her invisible non-stop. I focus on the poisoning ability she has. You're not limited to just, everyone's going to play this character the same way. And that is what makes this game, I think, more interesting. Now, on top of that, there is a further in-match customization that you can pick. See, as you play, you earn gold points, or credits or points, whatever they are. I don't remember at the moment. And if you do kills, you do more objectives, you get more of these faster. And when you're back at home base, you can purchase from 4 different categories, which are more of reactive type of abilities to enhance your loadout even further. For example, if you notice your team is heavy on healers, you can select Cauterize, which when you hit an enemy target, their healing, they receive less healing. Or if there's a couple of frontliners with shields, you can have Shield Breaker on there. Or if you want to have Lifesteal, you can pick Lifesteal from the air category, and every time you get hit, you get 10% life back. Or get 300 health for every kill. I mean, choices are yours, and you can, like I said, you can adjust on the fly and pick what you want, and then these abilities can be further upgraded. Overwatch, as far as I remember from the beta, you didn't get any of that. You got characters that this is how you play them, this is it. Paladins is free. I mean, that's why one of the biggest sellers right there. It's a free game. And it's still in the beta. I don't know what's going to happen in the full release, but so far you have nothing to lose. You can just try the game out. Now, I remember in Overwatch that there would always be like a play of the game kind of thing. And while Paladins has that, it also has the 4 different role categories that also have MVPs. You don't get the video montage as the MVP does, but if you play your character's role the best, you'll actually get acknowledged and get more points for that. Which, speaking of the roles, I should go a little more into that actually. In Paladins, you have your damage types. They're dealing damage, they get more points, more credits. Your frontliners, who are your objective-based people, they usually vary on having some kind of shield or pushing capability, but they're not all the same. For example, while Fernando has the best shield in my opinion, and he can rush in, he has his flamethrower attack, he's more of a lesser damage but more consistent. While Barrick has a shotgun, or a blunderbuss, he can deploy a temporary shield that lasts nowhere near as long as Fernando's, but he deploys up to 2 turrets at a time, which probably could be enhanced with a loadout card system. So if you like the engineer from Team Fortress 2, Barrick's the guy for you. Your flankers get more points when you get around behind enemy lines and you sort of cut them off and get them from behind. These are people that they're more glass cannons because they got to be sneaky, but they're not as durable, but they can still deal out some damage. And surprisingly, the Androxus, who's, I have to say, kind of a knockoff of Reaper, but he plays so much different than Reaper in Overwatch. For example, he doesn't have dual-wielding shotguns that magically reappear after he just throws them off. No, he gets an actual revolver that he reloads. And he has a buffed ability where he can just, for specialists, basically to power up and unleash 4 shots that do devastating damage. He can, he can burst forward, teleport almost up to 3 times and has to recharge, and he's definitely different. There's some variety, and like I said, even though he looks like Reaper, you would swear he's Reaper, he plays completely different, which is what all the champions do in this game. Even ones that look like Overwatch counterparts, they're still different, which I have to give the devs complete props for doing that. Now, the last class, or last area, is the support team. These are your healers. And while one particular champion, Yin, is probably, I think, by far the best healer, the others offer a little more variety for you, as I've been saying. For example, Pip is more offensive and defensive. He's by far the weakest of the healers, because he's more of your grenade launcher type, and he jumps around, he's hard to hit. While Grover, as I call Groot, a tree creature, he can heal, and I haven't played as him yet, but he has his wicked axe throw that puts some of the damage people to shame on how much damage you can put out with that. But aside from that, yeah, you have your frontliners, your flankers, your damage, and your support, which are your healers. Now, my one complaint about Overwatch when I tried the beta was there was 2 game modes, and I couldn't, and they were boring. Unfortunately, Paladins did the same thing so far. While Overwatch currently, upon my research, has up to 4 game modes, Escort, Assault, Hybrid, and Control, Paladins only has 2, Payload and Siege. Siege is just like Hybrid, where basically you fight over an objective, you hold the objective, then you get a payload you have to escort, which means either team go back and forth on this. Payload is strictly one team is trying to move it, the other team is trying to defend it, and then you switch sides. I played as much Overwatch beta as I could, and I kind of got bored of it because of this. And Paladins, I'm playing on and off. Do not get bored because I see so much more potential. But it is essentially the same in that regard. The devs are constantly updating. They release update videos and little patch notes. This way you can see exactly what they're doing, why they're doing it, and where they're coming from, and they are taking feedback. For example, there's a character named Cassie who was a bow user originally. The problem is the way she reloaded, it was like she was loading a magazine. So they tweaked her character model to actually wield a crossbow and not a bow, which made more sense with the way she was playing, and allows the immersion to not be as broken as much. Because even though a game like this, immersion's not as important like some other games, like in a VR game or a 3D adventure or something like that, immersion's still very important because little details kind of breaks up well, your gameplay and your fun. I mean, I noticed back in Battlefield 3 when they were comparing that with the COD at the time, how Battlefield 3 had the minor details that stuck out. Like, the magazines actually had bullets that were animated onto the magazine, so it looked like you were loading a real magazine, unlike COD had nothing there. So, just because of the character diversity, the free-to-play aspect currently, I have to say that Paladins is definitely a 5 out of 5 currently, and I recommend it completely. I really hope that it does something, it continues going forward and being very different from Overwatch, and it gives a good competitor for Overwatch. Because as Overwatch already has a competitive scene, so does Paladins, actually, which I was a little surprised. Though it's a little harder to get into ranked matches for the Paladins beta right now. Like, you have to level up, I think, most of the characters, I think 12 of them, to level 4 at least. Which isn't too difficult, because it allows you to learn each of the characters and how they play out, because they all play differently. Even the ones in the same categories play differently. So with that, this has been the beta tester. Test it out. This beta is definitely good. It's one to pick up if you can. Maybe and grab the full release. Until the next beta, signing out. This is Professor Miles. Have a good one.